All right, so get this. Today we're going deep, really deep into some pretty mind-bending stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The Nag Hammadi Scriptures.
Okay.
And these ancient texts give us a glimpse into, well, early Christian thought. And it's really different from what we're used to.
Well, imagine finding a lost library,
Right.
like buried for centuries in the Egyptian desert.
Wow.
And not just any library. No, we're talking 13 letter-bound books.
13?
Yeah. Codices.
Okay.
Filled with, get this, over 50 texts.
Wow. Okay.
And most of them dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE.
So this is a time when, well, I mean, Christianity was still kind of taking shape.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, we're used to thinking of the Bible as, like, the definitive source, but these texts show there were other, like, perspectives floating around back then.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you discover a whole new branch of the family tree that you thought you knew.
Right.
And one of the most prominent voices in these texts is that of the Gnostics.
Gnostics. Okay, now that rings a bell, but I'm going to need a refresher.
Okay, so think of them as like early Christians, but with a different take on things. They believed that salvation, it came through a special kind of knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Gnosis.
Okay.
A direct experience of the divine.
So not just faith, but like a deep, deep personal understanding.
Exactly.
I can see why the people in power might have seen that as a threat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. The discovery of these texts,
Yeah.
it really shook things up. It challenged that established narrative, of early Christianity.
Right.
And it introduced us to a world of, well, a really diverse
Yeah.
and sometimes even controversial beliefs.
And speaking of challenges, I mean, translating these texts, that must have been a massive undertaking.
Oh, huge.
Right, because they weren't exactly written in plain English.
Nope. The original language was Greek, but the versions that we have, well, they were translated from Coptic.
Coptic.
Language of Egyptian Christians at the time.
Oh.
And let me tell you, some of those key Gnostic terms, like eon, don't exactly have easy equivalents in modern English.
Hold on. What exactly is an eon? I mean, it sounds like something out of, like, Star Trek or something.
Think of it as a realm
Okay.
or emanation of the divine, kind of like levels in this cosmic hierarchy.
I see.
But translating that concept in a way that captures, like, the philosophical and spiritual weight, I mean, that was a real puzzle for scholars.
I bet. It's like trying to explain, I don't know, like the taste of chocolate to somebody who's never had it before.
Yeah.
Right. You need more than just words.
Exactly. And then there are, the stylistic choices too, like deciding to capitalize titles, like Child of Humanity.
Okay.
To distinguish them from, like, their everyday usage.
I see.
It's all about finding ways to make these ancient ideas accessible, but without losing their original meaning.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get a sense of the bigger picture, but I'm really dying to hear about the actual texts themselves. Because we're talking, what, like over 40 different works?
That's right, yeah, and they run the gamut.
Okay.
We've got prayers, philosophical treatises, even Gospels.
Speaking of Gospels, there's one called The Prayer of the Apostle Paul. And, we know Paul from, like, his letters in the New Testament.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing this prayer, it shows us like a different side of him.
It does. I mean, in his letters, Paul, he's often the fiery preacher,
Right.
laying down the law.
Yeah.
But here we see a more vulnerable side.
Oh, okay.
A man wrestling with his own spiritual struggles, longing for redemption. It's like you're overhearing a private conversation with God.
That's fascinating. Okay, and then there's the secret book of James.
Oh, yeah.
Secret book. Now, that sounds intriguing. What's the big secret?
It's not like a cloak and dagger secret.
Okay.
It's more like an inner wisdom kind of secret.
I see.
The text uses metaphors like drunkenness and sobriety, waking and sleeping, to talk about the Gnostic journey from ignorance to enlightenment.
What strikes me is how, like, these ancient texts, they use such vivid imagery.
Oh, totally.
Right. It's not just like dry philosophy. It's like they're painting pictures in your mind.
And that's exactly why they're so powerful.
Right.
They engage us on an emotional level, making these, complex ideas more relatable.
Right.
And there's another layer to the secret book of James.
Okay.
It plays with these contrasting roles of James and Peter.
Okay.
Possibly hinting at, like, tensions between different early Christian communities.
Oh, so it wasn't all like one big happy family.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, interesting. Okay, what about the Gospel of Truth? Is this like the Gospels in the Bible?
Not quite. It's more like a poetic meditation on the meaning of the Savior's message.
I see.
It even talks about 2 levels to the narrative.
2 levels.
Yeah, the historical and the mythological, blending, different ways of understanding the story.
This idea of truth and it being tied to this specific type of knowledge, gnosis.
Yeah. That's really, really intriguing. What are the implications of that?
Well, I mean, for the Gnostics, true existence, it wasn't just about, being alive.
Yeah.
It was about possessing this higher knowledge, and those without it. They argued they weren't truly existing.
Wow, that's a pretty radical concept.
It is.
Makes you wonder, what kind of knowledge did they consider essential for true existence?
That is a question that runs through many of these texts.
Yeah.
And we'll see it explored in different ways as we, dive deeper into the Nag Hammadi library.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What's next on our Gnostic adventure?
Next up, we've got the Treatise on the Resurrection.
Okay.
And this one delves into Christ's ability to conquer death.
Okay.
By embracing both his humanity and divinity.
So it's not just about, the physical resurrection, but something, more profound, more transformative.
Yes. And there's also this mention of a pre-existent church.
Pre-existent church,
yes.
Yeah. This idea ties into Valentinian Gnosticism.
Okay.
It's a particular school of thought within the broader Gnostic movement.
Valentinian Gnosticism. Okay, another branch of the family tree.
Exactly.
Right. I'm starting to see how, complex this world of early Christian thought was.
Oh, yeah.
What else do we have in store?
Well, we can't forget about the Tripartite Tractate.
Okay.
It's a text that's, divided into 3 parts.
Okay.
Each of them exploring, different aspects of the divine realm and the creation of the universe.
Okay.
It gets into the nitty-gritty of different types of beings.
Okay.
Images, likenesses, and imitations.
It's amazing how these, ancient thinkers, they tried to map out the entire cosmos, right?
Yeah.
And our place within it. Are there any, other juicy details in this tractate?
Oh, definitely. So there's this description of paradise.
Okay.
With 3 distinct types of trees.
3 types of trees.
Yeah. And the first human is portrayed as this mixed creation.
Mixed.
Yeah.
In what sense?
A blend of the, spiritual material and something in between.
That makes sense, considering, the Gnostic view that we have, a divine spark within us.
Right.
But we're also, trapped in the material world. It's we're both heavenly and earthly at the same time.
Precisely. And that tension between, the spiritual and the material.
Yeah.
Well, that's a recurring theme in a lot of these texts.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. What about the Secret Book of John? Why was this one so popular back in the day?
Well, we actually have 4 separate manuscripts of this text.
4.
Which tells us it was widely circulated.
Right.
And read.
Yeah.
And it's a key text for understanding Sethian Gnosticism.
Sethian.
Yeah.
Another branch of Gnosticism.
Exactly. This group traced their lineage back to Seth.
Okay.
The 3rd son of Adam and Eve.
Oh, okay.
They believe Seth and his descendants held a special kind of knowledge passed down from the divine realm.
So it's all about, lineage and spiritual inheritance. Okay. What are, some of the key ideas we find in the Secret Book of John?
It describes the fall of Sophia, a divine being.
Okay.
And how that led to the creation of the material world.
Okay.
It also focuses on Yaldabaoth.
Yaldabaoth.
The jealous creator god and other powers who envy humanity's potential for enlightenment.
It's like a cosmic soap opera.
It is.
With all these, jealous gods and fallen beings and humans caught in the middle. What a story. Okay, tell me about the Gospel of Philip. This one sounds a bit different.
It is, yeah. It's less of a narrative gospel and more of a, collection of sayings and meditations.
Okay.
And it's really fascinating to compare it with other collections of wisdom sayings from the same period, like the Sentences of Sextus.
Sentences of Sextus, okay.
Which is also part of the Nag Hammadi library.
So, I mean, what's the connection between that and the Gospel of Philip?
Well, they both reflect the intellectual and spiritual climate of the time, exploring, themes like the nature of reality, the importance of knowledge, and the relationship between, the divine and the human.
It's like these texts are all having a conversation with each other, bouncing ideas back and forth.
Yeah, kind of.
So what kind of things does the Gospel of Philip talk about?
It covers a wide range of topics.
Okay.
But one that stands out is the emphasis on symbolism and metaphor.
Oh, okay.
It's a text that rewards, close reading and careful interpretation.
A true deep dive, just like what we're doing here.
Exactly.
Okay, on to the hypostasis of the archons. Archons? What are those?
In Gnostic thought,
Yeah.
archons are often seen as these lower-level divine beings
Okay.
that rule over the material world. And they can be benevolent,
Okay.
but they're also associated with, ignorance and limitation.
Okay. That word hypostasis, that's a mouthful.
It is.
Could you break it down for us?
It basically refers to the underlying reality or nature of something.
Okay.
So the hypostasis of the archons, it's all about exploring the true nature of these powerful yet limited beings.
Okay. Starting to get it. Anything particularly, striking about this text?
One detail that always sticks with me is that the chief archon, he's called Samael,
Okay.
which means blind God.
Blind God. That's such a, potent image.
Yeah.
It speaks to the idea that even those in power can lack true understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it reinforces that Gnostic emphasis on seeking knowledge,
Right.
Beyond the superficial.
I love how these texts, they constantly, challenge us to question assumptions and to dig deeper.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, what's next?
Well, next we have a text with a pretty ambitious title,
Okay.
On the Origin of the World.
Ooh, sounds like they're tackling some big questions there.
Yeah.
Does it actually explain how everything began?
It offers a Gnostic creation myth,
Okay.
which is very different from the account in Genesis.
Okay.
There's a big focus on Sophia
Mm-hmm.
and the descent of divine beings into the material realm.
So it's not just about, the physical creation of the world, but
No.
also, the origins of consciousness.
Yeah.
And the divine spark within us.
Yeah.
What's the, overall tone of this text?
What's surprising is that it ends on a hopeful note.
Oh,
It talks about the eventual triumph of knowledge
okay.
and the collapse of the structures that were created by the demiurge.
The demiurge.
It's the, flawed creator god.
Oh, okay. So even in a world that's seemingly ruled by, ignorance, there's a glimmer of hope for liberation.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what comes after On the Origin of the World?
Next up is the exegesis on the soul,
Okay.
which focuses on the soul's journey from a state of purity
Okay.
through its experiences in the material world
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately back to its divine source.
Okay, so it sounds like an epic adventure.
It is.
How do they describe this journey?
Well, hold on tight for this one. These are the metaphor of prostitution to represent the soul's entanglement in the material world.
Wow, that's a bold image.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really drives home the sense of alienation and this yearning for something more.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What's interesting is that this text weaves in references to both biblical and Homeric literature.
It does.
It shows how these ancient thinkers were drawing from, diverse sources
Yeah.
to create something new and meaningful.
Yeah. It's like a fusion of different wisdom traditions.
Okay. Speaking of wisdom, the next text on our list is the authoritative discourse.
Okay.
What makes it so authoritative?
It presents itself as a definitive teaching on the nature of the soul and its path to salvation.
Okay.
It really stresses the importance of knowledge,
Right.
and the dangers of ignorance.
So it's like a roadmap
Yeah.
for the soul's journey.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that the soul faces along the way?
Well, the text warns about seductive temptations
Okay.
to lead to ignorance,
Yeah.
right? It's this constant battle between instant gratification
Right.
and true fulfillment, which, I think is a struggle we can all relate to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure. It's about choosing between what feels good in the moment
Right.
versus what ultimately leads to growth and liberation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm starting to see some common threads weaving through all these texts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what's next on our Gnostic exploration?
Well, buckle up.
Okay.
Because we're about to enter a realm of visions and revelations.
Okay.
We've got several apocalypses to cover.
Apocalypses, plural. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm guessing these are a bit different from the book of Revelation in the Bible.
Well, they share some similarities,
Mhm.
like visionary experiences
Yeah.
and revelations about the nature of reality.
Right.
But each one has its own unique focus
Okay.
and flavor.
Okay.
So we've got the apocalypse of Paul, the first apocalypse of James, and the second apocalypse of James.
Wow, a whole trilogy.
Yes.
Let's start with the apocalypse of Paul.
Okay.
What's revealed to Paul in this text?
Well, he has this vision of ascending through the seven heavens,
Okay.
encountering angels along the way,
Okay.
and eventually, meeting this figure
Okay.
who is likely God, depicted as an old man in white clothing.
It's a classic image of like mystical ascent.
Yeah, it is.
Right. It's fascinating how this idea of like ascending through these levels of reality to reach the divine pops up in so many like different spiritual traditions.
It's a powerful image.
What about the first apocalypse of James?
So this one really emphasizes the importance of knowledge for achieving salvation.
Sure.
It shows James, being tested
Okay.
as he ascends through the heavens.
Okay.
And his ability to answer correctly, that determines his progress.
So it's not just about like blind faith, it's about understanding,
Right.
proving your knowledge.
Exactly. And then we have the second apocalypse of James,
Okay.
which takes a more ethical approach.
Okay.
It stresses the importance of rejecting material concerns
Right.
and embracing spiritual truths.
Okay, so it's a call to detach from like worldly desires
Right.
and focus on what truly matters. I mean, that's a message that's still pretty relevant today.
It is.
Any other like interesting tidbits about this text?
Yes. So there's this figure referred to as the just one,
The just one, okay.
who doesn't judge,
Okay.
but helps. And some scholars think this is actually a reference to James himself,
Oh, I see.
highlighting his role as like a spiritual guide.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's interesting how these apocalypses, they offer like different perspectives on the path to salvation.
It do?
Right, we've got knowledge, ethics, the role of spiritual guidance. They're all like pieces of the same puzzle, right?
Yeah.
But viewed from different angles. Okay,
Yeah.
what other textual treasures await us in the Nag Hammadi library?
Well, we've got a few more apocalypses to unpack. And then we'll delve into some truly mind-bending treatises.
Okay,
You ready for more?
bring it on. I'm hooked.
Okay.
This deep dive is getting more fascinating by the minute.
Good.
All right.
All right, let's pick up where we left off with these apocalyptic texts. Remember how the secret book of John told that story of Sophia's fall?
Yeah.
Well, the apocalypse of Adam takes us back even further, back to Adam himself.
Oh, so we're going all the way back to the Garden of Eden.
We are.
Okay, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what kind of twist the Gnostics put on that story.
Well, this one's all about passing down secret knowledge.
Okay.
So Adam, he instructs his son Seth,
Okay.
sharing the wisdom that Eve received about the eternal realm.
So Eve is the wisdom keeper here.
That's right.
I love that. It's like a whole different take on the role of women in early Christianity.
Exactly. And the text, it also delves into these accounts of Noah and the flood, emphasizing this idea that there's always been like a select group seeking this hidden knowledge,
Right.
a truth that runs, deeper than the mainstream narratives.
It's like an underground stream of wisdom flowing through history. Okay, so what comes after Adam's revelation?
Hold on to your hats, because the next text, the second treatise of the great Seth,
Okay.
gets a little spicy.
Spicy, how so?
Well, it takes a pretty critical stance on the biblical creator God,
Oh, okay.
calling him, get this, a phony image of fire, earth, and murderer.
Wow. Okay, so that's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
Right? It's like they're directly challenging the traditional view of God
Yeah.
as the ultimate source of, goodness.
Right. And then they present this alternative portrayal of Christ,
Oh, yeah.
depicting him laughing at the ruler's ignorance during the crucifixion.
Laughing. Okay, that's not the image we usually get of Jesus on the cross.
Exactly. It's not about, sacrifice and redemption.
Yeah.
It's more about demonstrating Christ's detachment from the suffering of the material world.
Right.
He's not bound by those
Okay,
limitations.
it's like he's transcending the entire drama of
Yes.
crucifixion.
And this ties into a key Gnostic belief,
Okay.
the separation of the divine from the material.
Right.
Which brings us to the Apocalypse of Peter, where we see a similar idea at play.
Another apocalypse.
Yeah, they do love their apocalyptic visions.
Okay.
So this one also deals with the crucifixion.
Okay.
But it draws a distinction between, the living Jesus who doesn't suffer
Okay.
and the fleshly body that is crucified.
So it's echoing that idea
Yeah.
from the second treatise of the great Seth, reinforcing this Gnostic concept of a divine reality
Yeah.
that transcends the material world.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how these texts, they build on each other, creating this complex and interconnected web of ideas.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so what's next on our Gnostic journey?
Well, we've got the three steels of Seth.
Okay.
And steels, those are like pillars,
Okay.
often inscribed with texts or images.
So in this case, we've got like 3 pillars of Sethian wisdom.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're essentially, discourses or teachings focused on the contemplative ascent of the soul toward the divine.
Okay.
They kind of lay out the steps on the path to enlightenment.
So it's like a spiritual guidebook.
Yes, exactly.
I bet this text is like loaded with even more Sethian references.
You bet.
Okay.
It mentions this figure named Allogenes, who seems to be like a model for Gnostic seekers.
Okay.
And it connects to other Sethian figures too, like Pidradamas and Amaka Seth.
Okay.
So it's all about reinforcing this lineage of wisdom keepers.
Okay, we're getting deep into Sethian territory now.
We are.
What's next on our list?
Get ready for a wild ride.
Okay.
Because next up is Zostriano.
Zostrianos. Okay, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
Is that a person or a place?
It's the name of the main character.
Okay.
And the text, it takes us on this whirlwind tour of the celestial realms.
Okay.
Think of it as like a psychedelic journey through the cosmos, packed with, detailed descriptions of Zostrianos' encounters with various divine beings.
Okay, so I'm picturing something like Dante's Inferno,
Yeah.
but with a Gnostic twist.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are like some of the key themes in this cosmic adventure?
Well, it really highlights the importance of seeking knowledge.
Okay.
And the concept of baptism as like a spiritual initiation.
Okay.
Representing purification and access to secret knowledge.
Right. So it's like they're connecting it to the early Christian practice of baptism.
Yeah.
But with a like deeper, more symbolic meaning.
Exactly. So it's not just about like the outward ritual,
right,
but the inward transformation that comes with embracing gnosis.
I see. Okay. On to the next stop on our Gnostic exploration.
Okay, next up is Marsanes.
Okay.
Which tells the story of a figure named Marsanes who receives divine power and encourages others to seek enlightenment.
Okay.
It's a celebration of the transformative power of knowledge.
I'm starting to like see a recurring theme here.
Oh yeah.
Knowledge is the key
Yeah.
to unlocking our true potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And these texts emphasize that knowledge isn't just about, accumulating facts.
Yeah.
It's about shifting our perspective
Right.
and our relationship to the world.
Yeah.
And speaking of unique perspectives, Allogenes
Okay.
takes us on another fascinating journey.
Allogenes, another intriguing name.
It is.
Okay, so what's this one all about?
So this text focuses on Allogenes' exceptional ability
Okay.
to discern difficult truths
Uh-huh.
and access this hidden knowledge.
Okay.
It describes his ascent to a pure place and his encounter with the luminaries of the Barbello Eon.
Barbello Eon. Okay, now there's a term I haven't heard before.
It's a concept found in Sethian Gnosticism,
Okay.
referring to a divine realm or emanation
Yeah.
associated with wisdom and the feminine principle.
So Allogenes is venturing into the realm of like divine feminine wisdom.
He is.
Sounds like a pretty profound experience.
Yeah, and his journey, like many others in these texts, it's about pushing beyond limitations and discovering new possibilities.
Okay. Speaking of journeys, we talked about the sentences of Sextus earlier,
Right.
in connection with the Gospel of Philip.
Yeah.
What makes this text so special?
Well, it's a collection of wisdom sayings and ethical teachings,
Okay.
focusing on the importance of faith,
Mm-hmm.
listening,
Yeah.
and seeking goodness in the soul
Okay.
rather than the flesh.
Right. So it's a guide for living a virtuous life
Yeah,
aligned with spiritual principles.
exactly. And it contributes to this larger conversation that runs through many of these texts,
Right.
which is, how to live a meaningful life in a world that often feels chaotic and confusing.
And that's a conversation that's still relevant today.
Very much so.
Right. Okay, what's next on our Nag Hammadi adventure?
Let's explore 3 forms of first thought.
Okay.
This text introduces us to a really powerful concept called krotanoia,
Okay.
which is this feminine divine figure
Okay.
associated with wisdom and the very first thought.
Protanoia, it sounds like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
What's her role in this text?
Well, she's depicted as the mother of the voice
Okay.
and the revealer of knowledge.
Okay.
The text describes her descent into the world and how she takes on different forms, to avoid the rulers.
That's like she's on a mission
Yeah.
to bring wisdom to humanity.
Exactly.
Even if it means like going undercover.
Yeah.
I love that image of the divine feminine as this like subversive force.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what's next?
We're getting close to the end of our list here, and we've saved one of the most intriguing for last.
Okay.
The Gospel of Mary.
Okay.
This text gives Mary Magdalene a much more prominent role than we see in the traditional Gospels.
That's fascinating. Mary Magdalene is a figure who has often been like misunderstood and misrepresented.
Yeah.
So what does this gospel reveal about her?
Well, she's portrayed as a close disciple of Jesus,
Okay.
someone who received special teachings and became a teacher herself.
So not just a like repentant sinner, but a wise and trusted follower.
Exactly.
I bet that challenged the traditional like hierarchy of the early church.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The text even mentions some of the other disciples like questioning her authority.
Okay.
Which highlights the challenges that she faced. Right.
As a woman teaching in a male-dominated context.
Yeah. It's a story that resonates through history, unfortunately.
It is.
Okay, on to the final text on our list, the Gospel of Judas. This one is probably the most like famous of the Nag Hammadi texts.
Oh yeah.
Right, but also the most controversial.
Definitely. This text, it turns the traditional narrative on its head.
Right.
Portraying Judas not as the betrayer,
right,
but as this chosen disciple who plays a specific role in Jesus' mission.
So what's the alternative story here? What role did Judas play?
Well, according to this text, Judas was chosen by Jesus to help him escape the limitations of his physical body and return to the divine realm.
Wow, that's a pretty radical reinterpretation.
It is, and that's the power of these texts. They challenge us to question our assumptions. And consider different perspectives. Right. On events that have, shaped our understanding of history and religion.
Yeah, it's like they're opening up this whole new dimension of possibilities, Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Right.
From the origins of the universe to the nature of the soul, the Nag Hammadi Scriptures. They offer like a treasure trove of ancient wisdom.
They do. And I'm struck by the sheer diversity of ideas and perspectives represented in these texts.
Yeah.
It reminds us that early Christianity, it was a dynamic and multifaceted movement with a wide range of interpretations and practices.
It's like a kaleidoscope of beliefs and experiences, all trying to make sense of the mysteries of existence.
Yeah, and it's clear that these texts, they offer more than just, historical insights. They seem to speak to something like deeper, something timeless.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to explore as we wrap up our deep dive into the Nag Hammadi Scriptures. So what does it all mean for us today? Why should we care about these ancient voices from the past?
Yeah, those are the big questions.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing to think that these texts, they were like buried for centuries.
I know, right?
Almost lost to time.
It's incredible.
And now they're here challenging our understanding of early Christianity, offering us a whole new perspective on the origins of our spiritual tradition.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what else might be out there, just, waiting to be rediscovered.
Right. Like those texts were just waiting for the right moment to reemerge, to speak to us now in our time.
So what do you think they're trying to tell us? Why should we care about these ancient voices from the past?
Well, for me, the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, they offer this powerful invitation to question. To question the stories we've been told, the assumptions that we hold, and the limitations we place on ourselves.
It's like they're saying, don't just take our word for it.
Yeah.
Explore for yourself.
Exactly.
Challenge the easy answers and dig deeper.
Right. They encourage us to think critically about the nature of reality, the meaning of life, and the possibilities for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
They remind us that the search for truth, it's a journey, not a destination.
And in a world that often feels like overwhelmed by like information overload,
right,
these texts offer us a chance to like slow down, to contemplate, to engage with like profound ideas that have like resonated across centuries.
Exactly. They connect us to this lineage of seekers who are grappling with the same fundamental questions we face today. Like questions about our place in the cosmos, the nature of good and evil, the meaning of suffering, the path to liberation.
It's like we're joining an ancient conversation that's still unfolding, still relevant.
Absolutely.
Still challenging us to grow.
And even if we don't agree with every detail of, Gnostic thought, there's something like incredibly valuable in engaging with these alternative perspectives. They shake us out of our complacency and they remind us that there are always different ways of seeing the world.
So for someone who's hearing about the Nag Hammadi Scriptures for the first time, where would you suggest they start? Because it is a vast and complex body of literature.
Oh, it is, yeah. A good translation and introduction are essential.
Okay.
You need a guide to help navigate the nuances of the language and the historical context.
Right, like a Sherpa leading you through the Himalayas of ancient wisdom.
Exactly.
Are there any like specific texts you'd recommend for beginners?
So the Gospel of Thomas is often a good starting point. It's a collection of sayings that are attributed to Jesus.
Okay.
And it's relatively accessible, even for those who are new to Gnostic thought.
Okay, Gospel of Thomas for a taste of Gnostic wisdom.
Yeah.
What about if someone wants to dive deeper into like a specific branch of Gnosticism, like Scythianism?
Then I definitely recommend the Secret Book of John.
Okay.
It's a cornerstone of Scythian cosmology and their understanding of the soul's journey.
So Gospel of Thomas for a general overview, the Secret Book of John, for a deep dive into the Scythian territory.
Exactly. And remember, these are just starting points.
Right.
The Nag Hammadi Library, it's a vast and multifaceted collection full of surprises and challenges.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to discover your own unique path within this rich tapestry of human thought and experience.
I love that. An invitation to keep exploring, and that's what the deep dive is all about.
It is.
So to all our listeners out there, I encourage you to take the plunge.
Yes.
Dive into the Nag Hammadi Scriptures and see what treasures you uncover.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you find.
You might.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of the Nag Hammadi Scriptures. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep diving.